What's going on, everybody? You're listening to the Point2Point NHL Recap Show, Season 2, Episode 26. I'm Pascal Pryor, joined by Mark Haverlack, and today we're going to be sort of wrapping up and giving our overall thoughts on Round 1, and then we'll be kind of diving into each playoff series as Round 2 starts up here. Of course, the Florida-Toronto game, that one's already been played. That was a heck of a game. Before we get into all of that, though, Mark, what's going on with you, dude?
Dude, nothing much. Just kind of dialed into the playoffs every night here as we get games every night. Honestly, man, probably one of the most entertaining first rounds I've seen in a while. Like, we had no sweeps, only a couple game sevens. We'll obviously get into it. But honestly, man, overall, I'm pretty happy with the way the playoffs are going so far. How you doing, dude?
I'm doing good, man. I was loving Round 1, dude. I was out golfing yesterday. You can see I got the lobster face going on. I got a little too much sun, so a little worried about that. But Round 2, it's kicking off here, man. I'm just going to be even more dialed in here on the playoffs as we continue to get closer and closer to the Stanley Cup Finals. I'm loving it, dude. I'm loving what I'm seeing. Mark, what were your overall thoughts on Round 1, though? Because personally, I loved it. I agree with what you said. I think maybe one or two game sevens would have been a bit nice to see, but unfortunately we didn't get that. But what were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, like I said, dude, no sweeps. Like, we had a couple game sevens. There was that one night, I don't know if you remember, there was like 4 game 6s in the same night. And I was kind of like, how many of these series is going to end tonight? How many are moving on? I think we had 3 end that night. One moved on to a game 7. Then we had the next night, St. Louis, Winnipeg, force a game 7. Man, I thought the interesting part about the first round series is that I could argue that 3 of them, the better team in the series may not have moved on.
Yeah.
I don't know if 3's kind of excessive. Honestly, I like the Edmonton one's up in the air to me. Like, I feel like it was almost like kind of like a 50-50 split considering how the back half of the series went. But I felt like LA kind of had the beginning of the series. Even when it was 2-2, I was kind of like, I feel like LA's still been the better team in the series. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you could argue St. Louis was the better team against Winnipeg. And then honestly, I thought Colorado was the better team against Dallas for most of that series, dude. So I thought it was pretty interesting how almost half of these series, the team that you thought was kind of playing better is going home. Obviously, we had some thriller of a game sevens, dude. So I don't know if you saw the stat. In the past 106 years, there has only been 5 2 or more, like 5 comebacks in game 7 third period where a team is leading by 2 or more goals. Well, they happen on back-to-back nights this year, 2 out of the 5.
Yep.
So, and I know, I think the other 2 I saw was, I think it was like 2011, or sorry, when Vegas, or when San Jose came back against Vegas when Pavelski got hurt.
Yeah, the 4-1 lead.
And then there was another, and then the Leafs against the Bruins in 2013 or whenever that was, when the Bruins came back and beat the Leafs in OT. And then the other one was like 100 years before that, dude. So it doesn't really happen too often. Honestly, dude, legendary performance from Mikko Rantanen, dude. After everything that's happened with this guy, he can't do it without McKinnon. Man, honestly, I think people just jump the gun way too hard. Like, think about how much this guy's life's been turned upside down in the past 4 or 5 months, right? Like, he's been getting, there's a lot of adjustment period for him, and dude, he led the first round in scoring. So we'll probably dive into that series a bit more. But I honestly, I probably couldn't have asked for a better first round, minus Montreal's not moving on. But it was obviously really good still.
Yeah, it was a great first round. I'm with you on the Randon thing, dude. Like, it's very hard enough for guys to adjust when they are expecting a trade or they have requested a trade and they get dealt, right? Like, for him, he wanted to re-sign in Colorado with his buddies, had, like, got dealt without it being expected, then goes to Carolina, has a, he's not the best there, not really enjoying it there, and then he gets dealt again. The guy played for 3 different teams this year, and he's still putting up the performances he's putting up here in the playoffs. I thought it was phenomenal. The thing with Dallas too that it's kind of scary is they also did that against Colorado without their number 1 D and probably their second or third best forward. So they might be an issue in round 2 here. Let's start talking about round 2 now. The first series, it's the Florida Panthers versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. Of course, the Leafs, they beat the Sens 4-2 to advance to this round, and then the Panthers, they beat the Lightning 4-1. Mark, before we dive into here, any surprises there with those first 2 round matchups or no?
I mean, I'm a little bit surprised Florida ended it in 5 against Tampa, I guess. Like, as much as I picked Tampa to move on, it was almost like a coin flip to me. Like, my mentality was like, I honestly think whoever's winning this first round series is probably going to the Cup. I guess I'm just surprised how easily they handled Tampa, considering they didn't have Ekblad the first 2 games. They're coming off. I know you could argue they're rested. You know what I mean? They had injuries, but sometimes it's not easy to just come back and play and kind of get that chemistry. You know what I mean? Especially like with like Brad Marchand, where it's like, yeah, he's a good player. He's effective. He can do a lot of different things, but he hasn't been on your team ever, right? So it's the adjustment period for that as well. I'm not that surprised though. Like, I mean, I had the Leafs beating Ottawa in 5. I definitely thought that they were going to make it here. Ottawa's just kind of their first taste of the playoffs, right? I didn't really feel like that they kind of had enough juice, enough star power maybe to move by Toronto, but they made that series pretty interesting in the end, right? So I'm not too surprised about this Leafs Florida matchup. Obviously, we had game 1 last night. A lot of controversy over the incident with Sam Bennett in the second period. Kind of how is Toronto going to respond to that moving forward? It looks like they might not have Anthony Stolarz. Honestly, I'd probably say for the rest of the series, because with some of the stuff I've been reading about how he kind of left the arena and him just throwing up after being hit in the head. Like, I don't know. Like the Leafs looked pretty good yesterday for the most part. They almost blew it. They held on. I mean, you could argue at a lot of other times they would have fully crumbled and maybe went and lost in OT or something, but you got to give them credit for hanging on. I will say, but I'll also say that Florida is nowhere out of this series, dude. Like, Florida is completely in this series. The way they're looking at this is we just got to win one of 2 in Toronto. Like,
yep, exactly.
I don't think they really give a shit, to be honest with you, if they lost game 1. Like, they started terrible. I'd argue it wasn't Bobrovsky's best night either, right? So, I don't know. I think Florida is in an okay spot right now. I'll be honest with you. I've got Florida winning this series in 6. I think the Leafs are a little bit more mature than they were a couple years ago. With the game 1 win, that helps them as well. But I still think at the end of the day, Florida could take 4 or 5 here and move on.
Yeah. I agree with you there, dude. I like Florida in this series. The whole Stars one,
what do you think about it, dude? Because I don't really know what to think. Like, okay, first of all, he didn't elbow him in the head. It was his glove that hit him in the head.
Yeah, it was more of like yeah.
But I also was reading a bunch of shit that there was a doctor on Twitter saying that, I don't know if you saw in the first period, I think it was Verhaeghe took a shot, and it was the first save Stolarz made in the game. It hit him in the head. He lost his helmet.
Yeah.
And like 15 seconds after, he was like shaking his head. Yeah. And this doctor was saying I'm going to search it up right now. But he was basically saying that sometimes when people do that after being hit in the head, there's like a 72% chance that he's got a concussion. This guy thinks that Stolarz maybe was concussed already before the bad thing, and then him just being nudged in the head made it worse, right? So you never really know. It doesn't really help that Bennett hit him in the head. I will say, though, like, Bennett had the puck and he was kind of moving towards the net with it. He swiped it, right? But I will say at the same time, as much as it doesn't look like it was on purpose, I do think that Bennett kind of knew what he was doing.
I think he knew what he was doing, too.
This doctor on Twitter, Chris Nowinski, Anthony Stolarz likely suffered a concussion 5 minutes into the game when he took a puck off to the face and his mask came off. 25 seconds after the hit, he did a shake, SHAAKE, spontaneous head shake after kinematic event, which predicts a concussion 72% of the time.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, it kind of makes sense because I've had a concussion from just taking a shot off the head before. Shit rings, it hurts. But at the same time, it might not have been from that. Maybe he had a little bit of a headache and he was feeling okay, and then the Bennett nudge just kind of set him over the top, right? But the fact that he left on a stretcher is very odd to me, though, dude. But like the thing was, it's like why did they not have like a wheelchair, like a golf cart? Like, am I missing something here, dude? Like, what do you think? Why is a stretcher?
Because he would have been taken to the ambulance, or he would have been taken to the hospital in an ambulance, right? So just I think
Yeah.
for like protocols, it's easiest just to put him in the stretcher. The other thing too is like, I'll be honest, this story, there's still a lot to come out here of like what's going on, because the other thing that's sort of weird about this was he wasn't taken out of the game by the concussion spotter, right? Like
That was really strange to me,
he
dude.
pulled himself out of the game, and Jake Allen, he was on the Sportsnet feed last night, and he was saying that he's been taken out of the game by the concussion spotter before, and it's almost immediate. He said for him it was like 30 seconds after the play he got pulled by the concussion spotter, right? So like I don't want to say that he doesn't have a concussion, because it looks a whole lot like he probably does have a concussion of some sort, but I wonder how much of it is maybe like even he was just feeling sick. He had some kind of stomach bug going on already, right? And then like I want to see a lot more of the story come out, because even the stretcher thing, dude. Like I'll be honest, when you read the headline, Anthony Stollart's taken out of Leafs dressing room on a stretcher, it looks really fucking bad. But then again,
Yeah.
is it him laying on the stretcher? Like, what does it look like, right? Like, is it him? Is it protocols where they have to take him out on the stretcher and he's literally just sitting on it, right? Like, I think I
Yeah.
think there's a
I
lot
don't
more with
know.
the story I want to see before I fully kind of make up my mind of how big of an issue is this going to be for the Leafs going
Well, I
forward.
wonder if it's what you said. Like he's going in an ambulance. They put him on a stretcher. The one thing I just think of, dude, is he was probably okay to walk, but maybe they were considering like the distance that he would have had to walk to get to the ambulance. Maybe that they thought a stretcher was the best option. I was just thinking, dude, like how many fucking guys did it take to stretch that guy out? He's a fucking massive human being.
Yeah,
But I will say though, when he was skating to the bench before he threw up, he did not look good, dude. I don't know if you could see his face through the helmet, but like he looked like he was about to throw up. Like he
yeah,
didn't look good at all. And to be honest with you, dude, a lot of the times getting sickness is from having a concussion, right? Like a lot,
that is
sometimes you
true.
see stars, sometimes you throw up. Like, so I'm going to be honest with you, as a person who had to quit hockey because of concussions, it kind of seems like that's what he's dealing with here. It sucks because he's been playing pretty well in this year's playoffs. But one thing I will say for the Leafs that isn't really a huge setback is like Joseph Wall has been in this exact same position in two different playoffs, dude.
Yeah,
Where he hasn't started the series and he's had to come in midway through, and he's got like a 930 save percentage. And people ripping him about last night, yeah, dude, I'm not gonna lie, that Uwe Spolinski's third goal was pretty soft. Do you know how hard it is to come in as a goalie sometime in mid game, especially in the second round of the fucking playoffs, when you also did not get a warm up because he
yeah,
wasn't taken out by a concussion spotter? You only
yeah,
get a warm up if you're taken out by a spotter, like as a goalie coming into the game, because you know they implemented that new rule where they can get a
yeah.
warm up. It's basically you only get one if they're taken out by a concussion spotter. So that's why Wool didn't get one. Honestly, I wouldn't really be that worried. I think Stolarz is the better goalie, but I don't think Wall is like incapable of like helping them win the series. To be honest with you,
I agree with you on that, dude. I think you look at Wool over this season, like they really did have a tandem, but it got to playoff time, and towards the end of the season, Stolar sort of stole that stole that starting job for the playoffs. Because the thing is, in playoffs, you don't want to be going back and forth from each goalie. Like we've seen it with Boston a few years ago when they did that with Swayman and Allmark. Like it just doesn't work in playoffs. You really do got to go with your number one and ride that guy, right? But Wool, like he is capable of being a number one. He's shown that at times throughout his career, and I, I I don't think the Leafs need to be worried at all. Maybe if I'm the Leafs, the thing I'd be more worried about is Wool has showed injury history as well, right? Like
yeah.
he has shown injury history. He has showed fatigue history. So if this goes 7 games and towards the end of the series, Wool maybe is looking banged up or it looks like he's fatigued, that's where I'd be worried for the Leafs. Because then it's like, well, like we really do got to play him. Like you don't really, you can't be going to Dennis Hill to be in game 6 or game 7
Oh no, no.
against
You
the
know
Florida
who you pull
Panthers,
out if
right?
you know who you pull out if Joseph Wall gets hurt.
Matt
This is
Murray.
exactly why you signed Matt Murray, dude.
Even then, would you feel comfortable? Like, would you really feel
No,
comfortable?
God, no, God, no, God, no. Okay, so before we move on to those series, do you think it's the right call that Bennett's not getting a suspension?
It's hard, man. It's hard.
See,
It's hard because I look at it and I'm like, man, like based on some stuff we've seen in the playoffs so far, like he probably should get at least like he probably should just get one game. But then again, there's like other stuff I've seen in the playoffs this year. And I'm like, yeah, no, there's also been like a lot worse. You know,
yeah, like when
like
Brendan Gallagher was cross-checked in the teeth by Alexiev, and there wasn't even a
yeah,
penalty. Like I don't know what a suspension is anymore after that happened, to be honest. But
even the Kach, I'd say the Kachuk hit on Jake Gensel was worse than this.
yeah, but it's
Like,
like, dude, if you told me, I would have been fine not giving Hagel or Kachuk a suspension.
yeah,
But the fact that you gave Hagel one, I think you should have gave Kachuk one.
that's where it's at for me. Where it's at for me is I look at it and it's like, okay, like the precedent's sort of been set when you suspended Hagel. So it's like, okay, I guess that's kind of the standard going forward for the playoffs. And then it happens the next game in that series and the guy doesn't get suspended. I'm like,
Okay,
okay, well, like now the precedent's kind of like not set anymore. Like for me, it's been all over the fucking place where player safety has been so far in the
okay,
playoffs.
so
I
here's a
really don't know
better
what.
comparison. Here's a better comparison. Even though you may. Okay, the thing is that's making this worse is that it's Bennett, I would say.
Yeah,
Like, dude, if that was Carter Verhaeghe, like, I'm not even 100% sure if we're talking about a suspension. You know what I mean? But the one thing I will say, even though it probably wasn't as intentional, like, what is the real difference between this and Timo Meyer hitting Freddie in the head? That it was more of a hockey play? Because at the same time, like, Bennett, like, dude, Bennett didn't just, like, go to the net, dude. Like, he had the puck and he swiped it towards the net, and that was almost like his follow through. You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't just, like, playing hard at the net. Like, he legitimately had the puck, dude. Like, the
yeah,
more I watched it, I was honestly at first like, you know what, man, I think that, like, this is kind of bad. Like, I think it's, like, accidentally on purpose he's getting suspended. But the more I watch it, dude, the more I'm like, I do think he knew what he was doing, but I think it's going to be hard for the NHL to be like, you did that on purpose.
I think that's
Because
probably the thing.
it was a hockey play. Like, he had the puck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's probably the thing. Because the one even I'd compare it kind of to would be the Bennett Marchand one a couple years ago, where he kind of punched Marchand
Suckered him? Yeah.
in the face in the hit. But the
That
thing
was
with
probably worse, man.
even that one was worse, and that one was a lot more obvious, right? Like this one, a lot less obvious. I believe the Brad Marchand one. I think he only got one game, right? So it's like,
What, Bennett?
pardon me.
Like when Bennett hit Marchand?
Yeah, sorry. I think Bennett only got one game.
No, he didn't even get a penalty, dude. He didn't get suspended either. It was because he did it so. I was actually showing my buddy it last night. It's because Marchand was going for the hit, and it was so like it was almost so timed out perfect by Bennett that he like extended his arm right when he was going to hit him that it didn't even look like anything really happened. I don't know if you heard Maroon on Chicklets earlier this year. He basically said like no one on the Bruins knew what happened until after the game.
Yeah.
And it was like right in front of the bench too, but like they were just like, what the fuck? Like how's Marshy's like head hurting? Like he went to go lay a hit and then they looked at it after and they're like, oh shit, he got like suckered in the head, right? Like the one thing I will say about the Stolars thing and player safety, after hearing Chris Pronger on Chicklets last week, like the Stolars injury like doesn't really have anything to do with like Bennett getting a suspension. The only thing it has to do with is like if they're gonna suspend Bennett, if they think it's bad enough what he did, now they can look at, okay, Stolars is out, like he's puking, he's in the hospital, like that might add like 2 games onto it. Like they're not suspending Bennett because Stolars is hurt. Like that's not how it works.
And the other thing too, as you said earlier, is we don't even know if the punch is like what really is causing it, right? Like it might be the entire like the Verhaeghe shot, and it's just we're all narrowing down to this, right? But
I think it sucks what happened to Stolars. I hate to see it, but like I honestly think that it should have been a penalty. And I think that it's just, I just don't think it's a suspension, to be honest with you. But I think it really sucks because I think it's like the worst possible outcome.
yeah, I'm with you on that, man. Before we move on to the other Eastern Conference series, Mark, what's your full prediction here for this series?
I'm going Florida in 6, dude. I think that's who I had before the series started. That's what I'm going to stick with here. I don't think it's going to be a short series. Like I said, I think the Leafs are kind of more mature. They're a little bit more ready for this moment. But I think at the end of the day, dude, like I think Florida's buzzing right now, and they're kind of back to where they were last year almost. Like, I mean, Ekblad, he's back now, right? He got suspended again, but
Yeah.
I don't know, man. They're fully healthy. They went through Tampa pretty easily. I think if Bob can kind of get in his groove again, I think that they could take the Leafs in 6.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, dude. Honestly, I'm gonna go Florida in 7. It's a bit tough because Game 7 will be at home against for the Leafs, right? But I think at the end of the day, Florida is good enough. They loaded up for this series, right? You look at what they did against Tampa, like they kind of handled Tampa really well. I think
Yeah.
the Leafs. I don't want to say the Leafs got blessed by the Senators, but there were times in that Senators series where where the Senators did make some mistakes and the Leafs were able to capitalize, right? Like a team like
Yeah.
Florida throughout a 7-game series, they're not going to make those same mistakes. That's why I'm going with Florida in
Yeah, but
7.
that's also what we were talking like mid-season, dude. Like it was actually so important to win the division. Like
Yeah.
it set the Leafs up in it put them in a really good spot heading to the second round, dude.
It's going to be a close series, man. This might be my favorite series here in round 2. On the other side of the Eastern Conference, you got the Carolina Hurricanes versus the Washington Capitals over in the Metro Division. The Hurricanes, they beat the Devils 4-1 in round 1. That series really was not close at all. And then the Capitals, they got by your Montreal Canadiens 4-1 as well. That was actually a pretty good series. It was a couple of close games, but again, Montreal just a little bit young and inexperienced. Mark, what did you think about those round 1 matchups?
Carolina, New Jersey, I mean, was probably a little bit better than I anticipated. I think, honestly, man, as much as everyone hated on the Devils and yeah, they weren't good to end the season, like they were really hurt and banged up. And I feel that the guys that were there, like, played pretty hard to the end. And they were, I think, just seriously outmatched with, like, losing Luke Hughes and Brendan Dillon. Like Kovacevic was out. Pesci was banged up. Like, you don't have Jack Hughes. I don't know if you saw Luke Hughes and Barat just had shoulder surgery. They're out
Yeah.
basically till camp. And honestly, man, as much as I thought he was going to play bad, like I think Jacob Markstrom deserves some kudos for the series, dude. Like he played his heart out, 50+ shots in that game 5. They lost in double OT. I think the Canes, though, it's just like they kind of stuck to their game plan. They suffocated the other team. You know what I mean? But I thought that they were going to sweep, but honestly, any N5 is good enough. I'd say you get yourself some rest. Like you had 2 double OTs in there, right? So you kind of played a little bit extra hockey as it is. With the Caps Habs one, I do agree in the sense like I feel like when you look back and say, shit, that series ended in 5 games, it almost seems like it's a little bit short for what actually happened. Like I don't know if you heard like Carberry's conference after the series, and also Tom Wilson, dude. Like I saw Tom Wilson talking about the Habs, and I was like, "Oh shit, what's this guy gonna say about these guys?" Did you hear what he said, dude?
No,
Dude,
I missed what you said.
he's like, "That's a good hockey team." He's like, "That's
Yeah.
gonna be a good hockey team." He's like, he basically was like, "They had me frustrated at points in this series where they were getting me off like the player I kind of wanted to be." And he says they got a bright future. Even with Carberry, he's like, they challenged us a lot in this series. Like it did not feel like a 5-game series, even though we're done in 5 here. Montreal's, I'd say that last game, they were kind of the most out of it. They went down early and they were playing catch up. But for the most part, dude, like, I mean, it could have been a 2-2 series. We blew that lead in the third. Would have been a completely different like atmosphere going to game 5 in Washington with like that being for a 3-2 lead instead of just for the series to end. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think, honestly, man, like, especially as a Habs fan, you got to just – it sucks the way it ended. Like, it sucks losing at any point, but I don't think this team was ever poised for a long run. I think that if we got by a round, it would have been great, but I wouldn't have seen us kind of maybe going farther than that, if anything. But if you told me at the beginning of the season that we were going to lose to the best team in the Eastern Conference in the first round in 5 games – and kind of never being blown out at any point, like I would have taken that any day of the week, dude. Like
Sure.
I'm proud of the team. I'm proud of kind of like what we've built here as a culture, and I think there's going to be more of a target on our back next season. Like, I think teams are going to realize now that, like, this team's kind of like not really a joke anymore. You know what I mean? As much as we're not going to be like a contender, like we're not going to give a team like any easy night next year, right? So it's going to be a target on our back. We've got a lot of youth that is progressing, and like also the other thing, dude, like the youngest team to make the playoffs in NHL history, dude. Like,
Yeah.
And like we played pretty hard. Honestly, it sucks we lost in 5, but Washington's a really good team, dude.
No, they are a good team, man. I thought both those series were, for me, the Capitals Canadians one, that was actually a really good series. I really enjoyed watching that, despite the final outcome and sort of how it looks on paper. I agree with you, man. It was a lot closer of a series. For me, the Devils Hurricanes one, honestly, I really did not watch too many of those games live. We all knew Carolina.
Well, you knew what was going to happen, right? But I mean, I will just say, like, the Devils were banged up, and the guys they had, like, they fought hard. Like, besides that game 1, they were also never really blown out. But they weren't really they were more hanging on by a thread. But you know what I mean? But sometimes that's what you got to do in the playoffs. And they were getting like great goaltending from Markstrom, man. Like, he was really good in that first round.
Yeah, Markstrom looked phenomenal, especially considering at points this year, two Devils fans were kind of ripping him for his performance at points. But they're going to be a team going forward that is going to be an issue. The Devils, it's just they need to stay healthy and have their lineup all at the same time. I think what was it? They had 5 or 4 defensemen all injured at one point in the series. Like, how are you supposed to win a series when they had to throw in Seamus Casey, I believe. Like
Simone Nemec too got the double OT winner.
It's going to be hard to win a series when you're having to throw in 2 rookie defensemen in the playoffs. Mark, looking at this Carolina-Washington series, though, what are your thoughts here?
Dude, I think it's going to be a pretty interesting series in the sense of, like, I think there's going to be a little bit more nastiness than we probably anticipate. Like, I don't know if you guys remember, dude, like Jalen Chatfield, like basically WrestleMania Connor McMichael to the ground. Like, I don't think that Washington's forgetting about this at all here. It's kind of interesting because they're almost like 2 like completely different teams where like Washington is big, they're aggressive, they kind of have. Not that the Canes don't have 4 lines, they kind of do as well, but they come at you in waves on all 4 lines with some size and speed and skill. Meanwhile, the Canes are more of like a possession team, man-on-man defense. I think that Tom Wilson is going to be the X factor in this series. I see my thing with Carolina in this series, which makes me nervous for them, is as much as he's nowhere near the player as Tom Wilson, Josh Anderson could at least try to contain Tom Wilson. And I think he did a pretty decent job at it for the most part. Okay, here's my question for you. Who's going to contain Tom Wilson on Carolina?
I'd say either Jankowski or Stahl.
See, I thought about the Stahl thing. I think that they're going to stick Stahl on Dylan Strome.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's like, are you saying that in the sense of like Tom Wilson wants to drop the gloves, Jordan Stahl or Jankowski would do it? Or do you think it's just more of a sense like after the whistles and shit, like he's kind of the guy going at him, like giving him that extra cross check or whatever? Because to be honest with you, one guy I could see being pretty willing to do it would be like Brent Burns. And right,
I could see Burns as well. He's like a big guy.
It's like, what I'm saying is like, as much as Jordan Stahl is a massive human being and a moose of a player, like I don't know if he can do it as effectively as like Josh Anderson could, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
So that makes me a bit nervous for Carolina. I just feel that they are going to get bullied around a bit by Washington.
Yeah, and they do have a lot of smaller forwards up front. Like you got Jarvis, Stankoven. Those guys are smaller. They are warriors though. Like those guys battle, so it kind of makes up for their size a bit. But
to be honest with you, dude, like Brendan Gallagher's a warrior. Like you know what I mean? Like it's not. It doesn't mean that they can kind of match that intensity. Meanwhile, they are good players to have. I totally agree with that, but. I don't know, dude. I'm not that confident in the sense of like we don't really know Freddie Anderson's health. Is it Pyotr Kochetkov that's going all series? Because to be honest with you, no matter what guy's in net right now, I'm taking Logan Thompson over him at the
Yeah.
moment. The way he was playing, I thought he was probably a top 3 goalie in that first round. Um, you might think I'm a bit crazy here, but I'm actually going Washington in 5. I actually don't see this being a very long series. I kind of see this being like almost when the Carolinas played Florida in the past, and they just can't handle that physicality and that just constantly coming at you, hitting you. And it's just like, dude, Washington's also got like 4 lines of like guys that can score. Like, buddy, Protas was on the 4th line when he came back because Beauvillier's been playing so good with Ovechkin. Like, it's like they have 4 lines that can score. Their D are looking pretty good for the most part. And like, their goalie's playing unbelievable right now. So it's just like, I like Carolina. I cheer for them a lot besides Montreal. Like, they're kind of my team at this point that I hope they make on. But I'm going to be honest with you, dude. The more I think about it, the more I just don't see them getting by Washington. I don't see it, man.
See, I'm really with you on that, man. The one thing that I'm having a hard time with is just Carolina's structure and how well that they play their structure. Like, if they can play their game, not get caught up in the whole Tom Wilson, all of that stuff, that's where I think Carolina has a road to winning the series, right? Like you saw it in round 1. Tom Wilson came out flying around, and he was told he had to settle down, right? He was taking a couple penalties here and there. Like that, if that starts to happen in round 2 here against Carolina, Carolina's gonna capitalize on those opportunities, right? I think that is sort of where Carolina could get by in this series. Honestly, dude, I'm going with Carolina. I'm going with Carolina in 6 games.
Really?
I I think they are good enough. When you look at their top guys, Sheshnikov and Aho, they looked really good in round 1. These guys are playoff performers, man. These guys are playoff performers.
No, I know they are, but I can't lie. Like, I think the whole physicality thing just swings me the other way. And honestly, it's like, buddy, I just don't trust Kochetkov. I don't know what it is about him, dude. I just like I think you could maybe get away with it for a couple games, but if Freddie is kind of in and out of this series and Kachekhov's taking over the load, I don't know if they could win the series. Like, if Freddie Anderson was announced out for the series today, would your mind change on this series?
My mind would for sure change. The thing is, I think he's playing, dude. Right now he's projected to be the starter. He's projected to be playing tonight. I think he's playing the series, dude. I'm pretty sure he just re-signed his deal too with Carolina, right? Like, I don't know.
He signed a 1-year, $2.75 million deal for next year.
Like,
He
I
was
don't know.
basically the best goalie on the market, though, dude. Everyone's been signed.
But you know what I mean? I don't know if he'd be signing that contract mid playoffs if he was injured and wasn't going to be playing here in round 2. I think Anderson's going to be playing, dude. For me, it comes down to structure, the way Carolina plays. I agree with you, dude. I think they might have an issue with the physicality aspect. But on the other hand, dude, I could see Washington almost getting to that point where they almost are too physical and maybe are trying to lay the body at points where they shouldn't be, and Carolina will be able to capitalize on some of those mistakes, right? The other thing too that when I look at Carolina is, dude, I love their decor, man. I love their decor. I'd give them the edge over Washington's decor. And
See, I that's where I actually don't disagree with you. I love Carolina's decor, but
yeah,
I will say though, like I don't think Washington's is anything to slouch at, though.
I don't
Like I
think it
don't
is
think it's
either.
bad at all. Like I think it's actually pretty solid for the most part. Like I love Matt Roy. I think he's a super solid stay-at-home defenseman, second pair. That first pair with Chikrin and Carlson's really looking good all year. And then you got like Sandine, you got Alexiev's more of like a 7th D, but he's kind of stepped in. He's been all right. I like Trevor Van Riemsdyk back there as like a nice 5'6" guy. The only guy they're really missing is Fehervari, who's out for the playoffs. Like if they had
Yeah.
him, their decore's looking a lot better. But I don't know, dude. Would you argue top to bottom, like Washington's got more depth up front?
Yeah,
Because I kind of would. Like not by a lot, but I think I think they definitely do.
I would definitely say they do. I would for sure. I would say they do. I think we're also a bit underestimating. Pardon me. Carolina's depth out front. Like, dude, their third line of having Stankoven and Hall on the wings, man. Yeah, Konemi up the middle. Maybe he's not the best matchup for your third line center, but Stankoven and Hall like that's still a pretty good third line, right?
Yeah, 100%.
I think when you look at when I'm looking at kind of matchups here and who's going to play who, like you mentioned you probably want Burns on the ice against Wilson, right? So you got Burns Slavin going up against the Wilson Dubois line. You're probably throwing out Chatfield Orlov against the Strome Ovechkin Beauvillier line, and then you got Gostisbehere Walker. They could go up against that third line, right?
Yeah.
I like those dude. I like those defensive matchups for Carolina. When you're looking at it for Washington, you got Aho, Sheshnikov, Blake. You're probably going with the Carlson Chikrin line against them. And then I'd be throwing out the Sandine Waugh against Hall, Stankoven, Konyemi. And then that second line with Jarvis, Stahl, and Martinhook. Like, if you're going against Van
See,
Riemsdyk
I
and
think
Alexia,
I love that second line, though, dude. Like, I like Jarvis, but, like, the rest of those guys, like, I'm sorry, they're both good players, but I don't think they should be up there. But I mean, you could obviously flip flop the Stankoven Hall be the top six, but see, I just think that they're a little bit outmatched on the wings, and I think they're definitely outmatched down the middle. Like I'd argue that like Strome is turning into a first line center. If you don't think he's one, he's right on the verge of being one. And it's like Dubois at this point, dude, I'm sorry, he's at least a second line center. Yeah. And it's like, I can't say the same thing for Carolina. And this has always been their problem, right? Since they lost Trocheck a couple of years ago, is they don't have a second line center. I love Jordan Stahl, dude, but when I look at Jordan Stahl, you know what I see? I see like an Adam Lowry. I see one of the best third line centers in the NHL.
Yeah.
But I think at the same time, though, that maybe he's up there because they know they're going to line match against one of the top two lines. Because the thing is, dude, the one thing I will say about that second line, they're all really good defensively. Like Martinuk and Jarvis as well. So it's like I could see them being stapled to Strome and Ovechkin for sure.
I definitely could see that as well. And then you have the Aho, you probably have the Aho Sheshnikov line going against Dubois Wilson. And then that's where I look at it. Like third line, you got Mangiapane, Eller, Leonard for the Caps, and then you got Konyemi, Hall, Stankoven for Carolina. Honestly, dude, I'd give the edge there to Carolina, dude. I think Eller's a better third line center than Konyemi, but I think Stankoven and Hall, dude, those guys could have a big offensive input for Carolina.
No, I don't really disagree. I don't really love Eller as the 3C, to be honest. That was kind of the one thing where I was like, at the deadline, they should be pushing to get a 3C. But at the same time, dude, like I don't necessarily disagree with you, and I don't think the rosters are that much different. But honestly, dude, I actually think that Logan Thompson could have a huge effect on this series, dude. Like Carolina's also a team where they could dry up scoring. Like, you know what I mean? They can run into would you really be that surprised if they ran into Logan Thompson ends the series in 5 games? He's got a .930 save percentage, and Carolina scores 7 goals in 5 games. Like, would you be shocked if that happened? Because to be honest, I wouldn't be.
I'd be a little. I wouldn't be overly shocked, but I'd more just be surprised. I'd be surprised.
Okay. I don't know. I just think they've been goalie before. They can be goalied again, and I think that the rest of Washington's roster is nothing to slouch at, and I think the physicality is going to play a big part of this series, to be honest. If they can, Washington keep it under control and manage and not take stupid penalties, I think that they can really bully Carolina around.
No, yeah, that's fair. I think overall, though, this is going to be a pretty good series as well over here in the Metro.
I'm hoping Carolina wins, bro. I don't think they're gonna. That's more my take.
Let's move out to the Pacific Division. We got Vegas playing Edmonton again for I think probably the 20th time in the past 5 years in the playoffs. The Oilers, they beat the Kings 4-2 in round 1, and the Golden Knights, they beat the Wild 4-2 as well in round 1. Mark, what did you make of those round 1 series?
I'll start with Vegas, Minnesota. I mean, I think it sucks for Minnesota because I don't know if you saw now, like this is the 8th year in a row they've lost in the first round, or 8th time. I don't know. I think they made the playoffs 8 of the last 10 years, and all 8 of them they've got out in the first round, which is honestly brutal. But I'd say this year they played a lot better than they have in future years or in past years in the playoffs. I honestly still thought like Kaprizov and Boldy were probably better than like Vegas's top guys throughout the entirety of the series. I think the whole turning point was that game 4 overtime. If Minnesota could have went up for 3-1, dude, like we might have been talking about Minnesota playing Edmonton here in the second round, right? But just that one game that sucks. I think it just allowed Vegas to get back in the series. But I also think it's pretty similar with that. If you talking about Edmonton, LA, it was like they were right on the verge there, LA, of taking a 3-1 series lead. You let Edmonton back in to a tied series when they haven't been the better team. Well, it's like they're motivated, you know what I mean, to be the better team the last couple games. So I think you got to give Minnesota credit. One guy I thought was unreal besides the top guys from Minnesota. I thought Philip Gustafson had a really good playoffs this year, kept Minnesota in it. He was definitely the better goalie between him and Aiden Hill. But with Vegas, dude, I think that they don't really get talked about a lot. Like they've kind of had the same decor for a couple of years, minus like bringing in Hannafin, Martinez is out. But if you take away that transaction, like they won the cup with basically the same decor minus Hannafin. So it's not like this team's incapable of doing it. I think that they've got 3 pretty solid pairings. Like I'm gonna be honest with you, dude. Like when Haig and Whitecloud are out there, like I'm not really concerned. Like because Whitecloud is really good at neutralizing guys, and Haig's a really big body who is pretty average defensively. But I mean, he kind of probably gets his play lifted a bit by playing with Whitecloud, in my opinion. But I think that they're really reliable, dude, and I think that can help them kind of move throughout these playoffs. And up front, it's like, yeah, they might not be as talented as they were in the past, but they kind of have guys that like fill these holes that are good. Like Pavel Dorofeyev comes out of nowhere. Like, dude, Hurdle's been like pretty good, like since he came back from injury near the end of the season there. Like, yeah, I'm kind of liking Vegas going into this round, but also with Edmonton, bro, it's like, man, McDavid and Draisaitl, like this whole time have been playing good, even though like the whole team hasn't. Like, I honestly, I just can't believe that they got by that series. Like, do you feel the same way? Like, LA had them a fucking chokehold, dude. After 2 games, like LA looked fucking unreal. They came out like, did you not feel the first 2 games was like, holy fuck, like. Yeah. LA, like they know it this year. Like they're sick of this. They don't want this to happen again. They're fucking coming out guns blazing.
See, dude, I felt exactly that, but then also in the back of my head, I was just, but it's McDavid and Draisaitl, and when you wake up those 2 beasts, like have a fun time stopping those guys, right? We've said I feel like we say this every year now, right? It's all like, oh, Edmonton's gonna have a tough time, and then McDavid and Draisaitl do some supernatural shit and drag their team kicking and screaming to the next round.
Okay, I got a question for you, and I'm actually being serious when I ask this. Do you blame the Kings' loss more on the players or Jim Hiller's coaching decisions?
I'd say 50-50.
Man, I thought that some of those decisions were fucking insanity. Like that call, that goalie interference call, there was nothing there.
Yeah.
The game's tied. Why are you giving the Oilers a power play?
Yep.
That's 1. 2, why the fuck did this guy only play 4D for most of the series?
Yep.
Did you see Jacob Moverare was put in game 5? 4 maybe? Buddy, Joel Edmondson played 39 minutes. Jacob Moverare played 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, like you're killing your D. I will say though, when you do look at the D on the Kings, they are pretty like I don't think there's any depth there at all.
Okay, but I actually kind of disagree. Why? Brant Clark had 2 goals in this series. He barely played. Jordan Spence was a pretty solid defenseman most of the season. He was scratched a couple times in the series. I don't really understand it, dude. Jordan Spence scored in Game 6, dude. And he was scratched most of the series. Like, I don't understand. But they put Kempe on defense with Doughty for 3 shifts in the third period of Game 6. Did you see that?
I see. I miss that part.
Buddy, their D were so tired that they wanted to push a four forward. Dude, they weren't on a power play or anything. Like, they were down by 1 or 2 with 7 minutes left.
Yeah.
Kempe was taking shifts with Doughty.
See, for me, that's insane.
See, that's exactly insane. What I mean. You're telling me to the point where, dude, I love Kempe. And the thing is, the funniest thing was, dude, is he didn't even look out of place because he's such a good skater, right? But it's like that's to the point you're coming to. You don't love the depth, but dude, I'd argue the depth isn't unplayable.
I don't think it's unplayable. For me, it's just when I look at the guys in their bottom of their lineup, like, I love Clark, dude. I think he's a great player. But he's more of an offensive guy. I don't think he's super reliable defensively, right? And when you're in a close series and you're having to go up against McDavid or Draisaitl or Nugent Hopkins, Hyman, like, it's a bit hard to be able to trust those guys out there and maybe feel that they're not going to get burned. Same thing for Spence. Like, I like Spence, but I don't think defensively he's capable of being able to shut down some of those guys. Like,
go ahead. Sorry.
Like, outside of their top defensive pairing with Doughty and Anderson, like, would you say any of those pairings could shut down, like, either McDavid or Draisaitl's line?
Honestly, dude, I know you don't agree. I love Gavrikov. I actually thought he had a pretty good series, too, for the most part. Yep. And honestly, as much as I don't love him, like, Joel Edmondson was decent. But the thing is, it's like, I don't think he's a top 4 defenseman, dude. Like, I think he should be playing, like, 18, 19 minutes a night. Like,
yeah,
maybe. Like, he shouldn't be playing, like, 25 fucking minutes, dude. Okay, well, so then I'll rephrase that question another way about whose fault would you say it is? Would you put part of this series blame on Rob Blake for not going out and getting enough depth? Because they played 9 forwards, too, most of the series, dude.
Without a doubt.
So you think it's a combination? See, to be honest with you, I'd say if I had to come up with a number, I would say it's 75% Blake/Hiller's fault and 25% on the players. Because I'm going to be honest with you, dude, the players, they weren't good enough. But I think the guys that played hard.
Yeah.
But I also think that they were running out of gas because they didn't have the depth.
I look at it, man, like, for Rob Blake, bro, you have some guys on some fucking amazing contracts. You're paying Kempe $5.5 million a year. How the fuck are you not going out and finding depth guys? That's where I look at it for Rob Blake. When your highest paid player on the team is Drew Doughty making $11 million a year, and then your second highest paid player on the team is Kopitar making $7 million a year, how the fuck are you not able to go out and find some depth pieces?
As much as he's overpaid, if that's your highest contract and, like, that's $4 million more than the next guy, like, I'm okay with that.
Look at the Wild. The Wild go out and get Justin Brazeau at trade deadline for nothing. For absolutely nothing. Justin Brazeau had a pretty good fucking series for the Wild. You're telling me you put Justin Brazeau on the 3rd or 4th line for LA, that doesn't make them a better team? And what does it cost them? What would it cost them? A 4th round pick, maybe? Maybe a 3rd?
It was like a 6th and a prospect, but yeah, it's the same value. Like, this is what I said, dude. Like, at mid-series, I retracted my statement because the Kings were playing well. But I said mid-season after the deadline, like, are they trying to lose in the first round? Dude, Kuzmenko ended up being a hell of an ad. But to be honest with you, that shouldn't have been it.
Yeah, they needed more.
Like, they're playing Jeff Mallett and Andre Lee and fucking Turcotte circling around the 4th line. Trevor Lewis is in there sometime. Like, buddy, Trevor Lewis is 37. Like, the guy's a 13th forward. Like, why are we relying on this guy in, like, huge situations? Like, I don't. I'm going to be honest with you. Blake is gone. They parted ways. There's probably a good possibility Hiller's gone. Like, would you, if Dan Bilesma is fired after 1 year, I'm sorry. I think the decisions Hiller made can be justified to get him fired.
I think he's gone without a doubt. I think whatever GM comes in is going to bring their own coach in. He's
just crazy. We're going to have like 11 fucking new coaches next year or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's like, I almost feel bad for the players because I felt like they probably had the best roster this year that's ever gone up against the Kings. And like, I actually felt like they probably played the hardest in this series, but I just think the outcome sucked because a bad play by Byfield in game 4 to not get the puck out. Oilers tied the game. That fucking sucks. Yeah. But like, they played pretty hard in this series. Like, even like the games the Oilers won, like there was pushback from the Kings, dude.
Yeah, there was.
Like every time, it was just like they fell short. Like it sucks for them, dude. I don't know like what you kind of do from here. A lot of people are saying they should go into a rebuild, considering like 2 of their better players are kind of like on the back 9 and almost about to retire. And it's like, what the hell do they do when Kopitar's gone?
Yeah.
And like Kempe's a UFA soon. So I don't really know.
For him.
I'd be really interested to see what happens with this team. But I think that at the end of the day, LA may have been the better team for a little bit more in this series, but Edmonton really picked it up when it matters. They won some games where they weren't the better team. That's what happens in the playoffs, too. Like sometimes you just got to get the win when you're not the better team. You know what I mean? And then you become the better team other games, and that's how you can kind of close out a series. But we kind of rambled on a lot about that. What do you feel about Edmonton Vegas?
I feel
like it's a bit different from a couple years ago, dude.
Again, dude, it's hard, man. I look at it and I think Vegas is the better team. I think their decor is the best decor in this series. It's not even close. I think they do have the better goaltender in Aiden Hill, but Aiden Hill like didn't really look. He didn't look like his normal Aiden Hill in round 1.
No,
like he looked like he was beatable, and that was not against McDavid and Draisaitl, right? Like now you're going up against McDavid and Draisaitl. You're going against the 2 best offensive players in the league, pretty much. I think it's gonna be a close series, honestly, man. I think when you look at Vegas, their offense really didn't get going until the end of that Wild series, right? Like Eichel, he wasn't putting up numbers. Hurdle wasn't putting up numbers. I think for Vegas, they have the team, but you need them to show up, and that's the question mark here. Is that are they all going to show up? Because if Aiden Hill doesn't show up, or if Eichel and some of your scores don't show up, then I think Edmonton, like McDavid and Draisaitl, those guys are going to show up. If those guys show up and Vegas don't show up in the series, I think Edmonton's going to win the series. But that being said, I am betting on Aiden Hill being better in round 2. I'm betting on Eichel being able to play a good series. The one thing I want to mention about Eichel too is a lot of people don't acknowledge how good this guy is defensively. I feel like he's a guy that you can play against McDavid and Draisaitl, and he can be able to shut those guys down or have somewhat of an effect.
He's already done it. He's done it a couple years ago.
Down, right? So I think Vegas will be able to bounce back. I got Vegas winning in 6 games. What do you think here, though, Mark?
I agree with kind of most of what you said. I do agree Vegas' kind of top guys weren't performing earlier in the series. But I'll also throw in the argument of the side where they were playing a goalie that was playing pretty good. Now we're moving into a series where the team they're playing's got a massive 2 question marks about both goalies. I don't give a shit that Calvin Picker went 4-0, dude. I'm sorry. I can't get behind him. I don't know what it is about him. I don't trust him at all. And I think Vegas can really expose him, to be honest with you. So it seems like Matthias Ekholm is unlikely to play in round 2, which is a huge punch in the face for the Oilers. I'm wondering if this injury is kind of just worse than what we think, and he might even be already out for the playoffs if we don't even know it yet, or maybe he can come back later on, and they're just taking it like a series-by-series basis. But I think maybe that this Ekholm loss is going to really show a lot more in this round. That's kind of what I'm predicting here. Saying that, dude, I think McDavid and Draisaitl, like, dude, let's not forget, like, a couple of years ago when Edmonton lost this series, like, Draisaitl had 4 goals in game 1. Like, I don't think that they're going to necessarily shut them down. I think you got to try and contain them.
Yeah.
You got to make sure they're not getting 3-4 points a game and they're getting 1 to 1.5. Because I think if you went to 7 games with McDavid and Draisaitl, I'd be shocked if they still did. They could lose the series in 7, and I'd be shocked if they didn't have like 9 to 10 points in the series still. It's just the way they are, right? Even if they're not playing well, they might lose 4-1, and McDavid and Draisaitl both get in on the goal. Like, it's just kind of the way it is, right? Like, you're never going to fully shut them down. So, saying that, though, I love Vegas's D. I think both these teams are in the same situation, kind of where they started slow in the playoffs, and they kind of picked it up. Vegas won 3 in a row. Edmonton's won 4 in a row. But I just think that Edmonton's a little bit outmatched. I think Vegas is pretty deep at every position, basically. And I think if Adin Hill can play good, which I think he did get better as that series went on, for sure.
Yeah, he did.
Like, he was bad at first. He wasn't great overall, but he was getting better as that series went on. I'm going with Vegas in 7. I think it can go pretty long here. I think that there's going to be a lot of pushback. But I think at the end of the day, Vegas is going to get it done.
No, that's a safe pick. Let's talk about the Central now in that playoff series. The Stars are going to be playing the Winnipeg Jets. Of course, in round 1, the Stars beat the Avs 4-3 in that thrilling Game 7 ending. And then the Jets beat the Blues 4-3 as well in another thrilling Game 7 ending. Mark, I know we sort of talked about the 2 Game 7s earlier on in the podcast, but overall, what were your thoughts on each of those round 1 matchups?
Oh, dude, so Winnipeg St. Louis, I can't lie to you, was kind of the surprise, sneaky, like, I really want to watch this series. Yeah. Like, I felt like, honestly, dude, could you argue? Okay, I feel like it'd be hard to beat Edmonton, LA, but besides that, I feel like this may have been the most interesting series in the second round in the Western Conference. But the thing was, dude, is did you really? I personally felt that the Avs Stars was not as good as I thought it would be.
Yeah,
I think it got better as it went on, but I felt the first 4 games was like, bro, Dallas has led for 58 seconds in this series. Like, it felt like Colorado almost had it, and then they lost it. You know what I mean? But then obviously it got better as it went on. But I would say from start to finish, like, I thought that St. Louis Winnipeg was super interesting, right? Like, the home team won every single game in the series.
Yep.
They say you're not in trouble until you lose at home. Well, Blues didn't lose at home when they lost the fucking series, which sucks. But man, I'm so impressed with the Blues, dude. Like, Cam Fowler, 10 points. Like, what?
That's where I want to. That's where I'm looking at it, man. There's a lot of a narrative going out right now that, man, the Jets, like, they did not, like. I agree, the Jets didn't play well at a lot of points in this series, but there's too many people saying the Jets had a horrible series. It should have never gone to a Game 7. You got to remember they're playing the St. Louis Blues, who went on a 13-game winning streak at the end of the season to get into the playoffs. Like, you can make an argument that the St. Louis Blues might have been the hottest team and the team that was currently at the highest peak going into the playoffs. I think you could make a solid argument for that. And Winnipeg was still able to handle them. Yeah, Hellebuck, there was some games he didn't look good. I think he's really got to figure it out here. In
some games, dude. I think 6 out of the 7 games he didn't look good.
Yeah, most of this series. I think he's really got to figure it out here in round 2. But, dude, that series, it was everything you could have asked for. That Winnipeg Blues.
Yeah, like, dude, the thing is with St. Louis, the thing with the St. Louis is, like, they've got a good mix of they've got a good veteran decor with a little bit of youth, like with Broberg. But then up front too, they've got a nice mix of, like, you got a good vet in Braden Shen. Vucinovic has been around for some time, but then you got some young guys like, buddy, if you don't think Robert Thomas is a nasty player in this league, after watching that series, dude, I don't know. I don't know what you're thinking, dude. I honestly, you can mark my words right here. I think he is a lock to make Team Canada next year.
Yep.
A lock. Yep. Especially, I'm honestly surprised he didn't make it this year, considering his GM was the GM of the team. and I've always been super high on this guy. But you could argue for most of the series he was the best forward.
Yeah, and he might be the most underrated player in the NHL, to be honest.
Yeah, he's a moose of a man. He plays good defense. He's like one of the best passers in the league. But they've also got a good mix of like, dude, I like Kyrou a lot. I like Zach Bolduc a lot. Like, they've got some nice talent coming up too. Like Dalibor Dvorsky's probably making the team next year. Like, they had a couple of first-round picks, 3 first-round picks that year, a couple of years ago, that I think kind of helped them almost like retool on the fly. Like, this is almost like a comparable team to like Montreal in the East, where you didn't think they're going to make it. They get in. They're in a different situation, though, where they've got a lot more veterans, but they've also got a lot of pieces on the way. I honestly thought for most of the series, Jordan Binnington played really well. I think he kept them in a lot of games. And honestly, dude, you can tell me whatever. He was the better goalie in Game 7, for sure. I think this Hellebuck thing's kind of a problem, though. A lot of people think that the fact that he played this bad and got by the series is going to give him a jolt. I'm not that convinced that that's the case, though.
I'm not overly convinced with that either. What I'm more looking at is it's more the will him being out of round 1 and being like, there's not going to be as much of the narrative, I don't think, maybe that like around the team and around him. Will that maybe change him mentally a bit now that?
Okay, but
you know what I mean?
I don't like that. I don't like that mentality because, dude, 2018 he went to the Western Conference Final.
Yeah.
The shortened season, they swept Edmonton in the first round and made the second round. Like, it's not like he's never been there before. Like as much as he has 3 straight years, he didn't do it. Like, it's not that he hasn't done it. And to be fair, those playoff runs, he played a lot better. But I'm kind of going off of recency bias here, dude. I think the thing with Hellebuck that people don't realize, it's kind of hard to understand if you're not a goaltender. Hellebuck plays a specific style that like no other goalie in the NHL plays. He plays a lot deeper in his net, and he moves on like a triangle formation. So he's basically going like from back in the net to out to a certain spot, and he goes it in different ways. So he's very controlled in his movement. And if you watch Connor Hellebuck at his best, he's not moving a lot. He's letting the puck come to him, and he relies on his athleticism and his reflexes. Yeah. But what I've seen a lot from him in this series is a lot of late reactions, kind of being out of position. Like, dude, okay, you saw that second goal, that Matthew Joseph goal, that wrist shot, right? Like, that was a really weak goal.
Yeah.
For them to take the 2-0 lead. But that first goal, too, where the puck went across the net and then Kyrou was kind of just like stick it in. All Hellebuck did was slide to play the shot, and he ended up like 4 feet outside of his crease. Like, so right away, I start thinking, this goal's not on him, but if he was playing the way I know he's capable of, honestly, he probably would have made that save. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, once I see him swimming outside his crease, I'm like, oh my God, he's not confident in his movement right now. Like, did you see the press conference with him where he's like, I probably study goaltending more than anyone in the world? Did you hear him say that?
No, I missed his press conference.
So after Game 4, they were asking him about just like the series and getting back into it. He's like, I know where I'm at right now. Like, I know I'm not playing good. And he's like, I study goaltending more than anyone else on this planet probably. And I know what I need to do. And it's just like, I know he does that, right? I know that he plays everything kind of by percentages and angles. So when I see him kind of get off of that, even sometimes it doesn't lead to goals, right? You might be like, the goalie's out of his net, that's a wide open net, he misses. And I'm like, holy fuck, how did the goalie get there? Like, what the hell is he doing right now? Like, and then it's like, if he's doing that now, like, what's going to happen later in the game if he's not kind of in the rhythm of his technique and his movement, right? So the thing is, it's like, why I'm saying all this is like, to figure out your game at this point against the Dallas Stars in round 2 is going to be fucking difficult.
Yeah,
and I know he played well against them all year, and Winnipeg played well against them all year. But I just think this is completely different. Like, I don't even think about the regular season when I walk into the series. I think that Mikko Rantanen's on fire. Dallas is getting their stars back. I'm going to be honest with you, dude. I think Dallas is winning the series in 5. I honestly contemplated putting a sweep.
See, I'm kind of with you on that, dude. I think Dallas is winning this this series in 5 games. You look at what they did against the Avs, dude, and that's without their best defenseman and their second or
Second
third
best
best forward,
forward.
right? And they're going to get these guys back. I think if Winnipeg wants to win this series, Hellebuck from game 1 onwards needs to be playing at his best. And I also think that Winnipeg will need to win as many games as you can when Heiskanen is out, because when he comes back, he will be shutting things down. And dude, Jake Onger, he's a hell of a goalie too, right? Like,
Oh, I know.
he might be the better goalie in this series, to be honest, like based off how things are going right now.
I'd say right now, probably, considering the way he's been playing. Like, a lot of that series with Colorado was him. Yeah, I don't want to say completely bailing them out, but like, I mean, there were times where I thought Colorado could have easily ran away with games, and he kind of kept it sane. Like, even Game 7, third period, dude. Like they score that goal early, and it's like Onger's got to shut the door, dude. If he lets in that third goal, like, I don't know. I just think it's completely different. You know what I mean? They're probably not coming back.
And the other thing too is I don't think we know the update on Mark Scheifele yet either. I'm kind of looking around right now to see if there is an update on him, but I'm not seeing anything on if he's healthy and if he's going to be playing in game 1 of this series. So
I think that he's also dealing with a concussion because he was out before Game 7 skating in just like a tracksuit.
Yeah.
But I don't think I don't know if we're going to see him at the beginning of the series, to be honest.
Yeah, so if you're without Scheifele, honestly, I really don't see a way for Winnipeg to win this series. I'm with you, man. I got Dallas winning in 5 games. It's going to definitely be a tough job for Winnipeg to do, and I just think Dallas is so stacked when you look at their forward group, and then if you're getting Heiskanen back, you're getting Robertson back. If Jake Onger can continue to be the goalie that he's sort of been here in the first round and throughout the rest of the playoffs, I think they're gonna go on a hell of a run here in round 2. Mark, you have anything to add to this series or no?
I was actually just trying to find the stats. So you're talking about Jake Onger, dude. Career in Game 7s. I don't know if you remember, like, he had a legendary performance against your team a couple of years ago in a Game 7 where he had like 64 saves. So in Game 7s in his career, he's 3-1 with a .950 save percentage, and the loss was against your Calgary Flames, where he stopped 64 of 67.
Yeah.
So I mean, a lot of goaltending is kind of coming up when it's crunch time, and Jake Ottinger's proving at a pretty young age that he is doing so. And honestly, dude, as much as people say he plays for the Dallas Stars, oh, he's got good defense, he's got Miro Heiskanen. I don't know, dude. I haven't liked the right side of their D for a long time now. I think that without Heiskanen, it proved that like Dallas's D are kind of, they can be exposed, right? And if you don't have a goalie playing well, that it could go completely the wrong way. So I think Jake Onger's, if he's not an elite goalie in this league, he's kind of right on the verge of being there. And I think he's going to be a really good goalie for a lot of years to come. And I'm just telling you right now, dude, we'll see how it goes with Hellebuck, but Onger might be starting for US next year. I don't know, dude. We'll see how this goes. If he wins the cup, fuck.
It's going to be close, man. It's going to be close. Overall, though, that's going to wrap up our round 2 playoff preview episode. Mark, you mentioned earlier in the podcast there's a lot of head coaching positions open. So what we're going to do is later this week we're going to be coming out with another episode, kind of just going through each opening and predicting or giving our best candidates for each head coaching position. So stay tuned for that episode later this week. But for everybody tuning in right now, thanks for tuning in.